Hey everybody, this is Chris McCabe of e-commerce. Chris wanted to talk a bit today about an Amazon suspension trend, a research of a suspension trend that I'm noticing, which is kind of picking up speed and becoming a lot more pervasive. There's been a lot of talk in different WhatsApp groups and other groups. People send me screenshots of things all the time that show that an account suspension resulted in somebody contacting them saying, "Hey, we heard you're suspended. We want to help you and we can get you some information on your account from internal to find out what's going on with the account, what they want in an appeal." This has become widespread and rampant in terms of people jumping on, not to send you to these places asking, but it's already happening on Fiverr or Upwork and some other, WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, whatever it might be, Signal, where people are just easily acquiring annotations from inside their account. There are groups of people that boast of or profess to have contact with what they call Amazon insiders, which essentially means Amazon employees who are sharing information they shouldn't be sharing. This is a big deal. This is not just bad behavior, it's illicit, illegal behavior. And whether or not it's punished in the country that it's happening, if it's not happening in this country, or whether or not, it's just something that's taken for granted as commonplace corruption, wherever the locus of this behavior is, the net result is that the screenshots are floating around out there. They're available. People can, work through intermediaries or middlemen to purchase them. I hear it's pretty low cost, but that shouldn't encourage anyone to try to resolve their suspension issue or figure out why Amazon isn't divulging details of their suspension by paying somebody to get that information from internal. Keep in mind the risk of a permanent ban. Keep in mind that obviously that can be tracked, that can be followed, and you can be punished for that. There's a track record of this happening in the past. People have gone either to prison or been prosecuted for this sort of thing, whether they were employees, whether they were consultants. And the reason is because this behavior, of course, should not be happening. And this type of compensation in exchange for internal info, it's really the largest risk I would say you could take with your seller account. I've talked to a few people who are doing this. They said they were desperate. They said they didn't have a choice. They said Amazon refuses to tell them what's going on with their account. I, of course, understand and know that those copy and paste messages Amazon sends don't have any information. They don't have any value. They drive you insane. I think people at Amazon know this, and all of us outside in the marketplace or the community understand this as well. But it's kind of a sign of weakness that you don't know how to escalate it, that you don't have a solid, serious strategy for appealing something. There are right ways of doing it, which are legitimate and clean, that do not involve black hat tactics. If that weren't the case, then I wouldn't have been doing this for the past 11 years. But even beyond, what we're doing, there are sellers who get themselves reinstated without doing any of these things. Most of the time, these screenshots, internal data that they purchase don't really seem to be helping them much. I mean, if they're coming to us and asking us to review this info that they acquired, or if they're describing to us something that they saw in screenshots they acquired, it means that they weren't really able to use the information in any meaningful way. It probably just reiterated, perhaps in slightly more detail, what they already saw on the suspension notification. So, I mean, if this were some sort of magical, mystical cure for the everyday Amazon account suspension, I'm pretty sure you would have heard about it by now already, or there'd be some viral YouTube, TikTok video, Instagram post out there saying, we've solved this. Nobody needs to work on this in too much depth or detail going forward, because this is the easy, quick, undetectable hack to get things fixed. I mean, that's obviously pie in the sky. That's not how it works. People, of course, it's been documented. You can Google this and get the phone book or the encyclopedia in terms of what's happened in the past. People have been caught reinstating seller accounts that shouldn't have been reinstated. There are sellers live on the site right now who shouldn't be there because they paid somebody to get their account reinstated. Yeah, I suppose they prefer that to being permanently banned, but those are the few. There are many, many others who have been punished for this sort of thing simply because anytime an employee is caught red-handed doing this sort of thing, I'm sure Amazon sits them down and goes through, or they can simply go back through their logs and look at the accounts they've touched and what they might have done or not done on those accounts, or typically looked at an account that that employee had no business looking into, right? I mean, that's extremely common. I understand that this stuff is frequently mentioned in a very casual way, again, in groups, WhatsApp group, public posts, wherever it might be. That doesn't mean it's not illicit. That doesn't mean it doesn't carry risk. That doesn't mean it won't get you into trouble. Of course it does, right? People have been suspended for it. I've talked to different sellers who never came back. They approached us saying they were caught doing these things. They weren't able to get back reinstated. And sometimes even the notification is rewritten. The message that Amazon sent out says, we see that you obtained information through illegitimate means. There's different phrasings they use. I'm not going to quote from it right now, but I have seen those messages where it's obvious that Amazon reverse engineered this, tracked it down. And in most cases, I think it was a fixable problem with actual appeal strategy. They could have gotten reinstated, or they could have just countered the notification. Maybe it's a code of conduct flag and they could have resolved it. But they heard about this from a friend. They wanted to take the easy way out. It's not something I'm ever going to recommend that you do. And if you are going to embrace that, understand what the risks are. And the risks could be beyond policy violations. There could be risks of, state, local, federal laws that you're breaking. It could come back to haunt you in the future long after you've resolved that particular issue. I'm sure there are some sellers, like I said, who have done things years in the past that have been selling for the last 2 or 3 years and shouldn't have been, who may see something unearthed in the future if, in fact, they were working with a particular employee who gets caught continually doing this sort of thing over and over, because it is a commonplace practice. There's no way anyone can say that that's not something that's being kicked around on, whether it's Fiverr or some other group. But most of the consultants or service providers who pitch these sort of services, from what I've seen, are pretty blatant about it and pretty direct about where they're going to get the info. And I don't know if sellers are asking them to prove that it's coming from an employee or not, but from what I've seen, the proof is pretty quick in the coming. So readily available and easy to come by. It's unfortunate in this day and age that more progress hasn't been made to counter that sort of behavior. But from your perspective as a seller, I understand these carrots are dangled in front of your face and they're easy to find. Don't even think about doing stuff like that without considering risks and consequences, because you could lose your account over one single ASIN, and you are not likely to appeal that and get back reinstated anytime soon. For an offense like that, it's usually a dispute-only path, which we've talked about in suspension trends videos numerous times. So make sure the info you get is clean. Make sure there's full transparency from every service you work with and some visibility into what they're doing on your behalf. And obviously, don't pursue anything that involves breaking Amazon policies or laws. Questions on that, let me know. These are things that come across our spectrum on a frequent basis, and we say to people privately what we say publicly on this matter. So we're definitely consistent on the topic. Questions, definitely let me know, and take care.